Honest, unbiased, pure, and straight to the point, Rei enters the league. A lively girl with a burning passion for Cosmic League battles. She can learn most combat techniques after seeing them once and has devoted much of her time to learning from her veteran breaker, Zero Saber. Her skills have developed even further under his tutelage, earning her the title of Zero's successor. Hey guys, Epsy here. Today we're going to talk about Rei. Rei is a bot of the Assault class with an even balance between her main and sub-weapon attacks. She carries 12% more resistance towards beam attacks, with the trade-off being negative 5% resistance towards physical damage. Rei's main weapon, Zero Pierce Gun, is a ranged attack which deals physical damage. It starts at 8.1 force at C rank, which can end all the way to 13.5 force at S rank. Rei's sub-weapon, Zero Sword, is a melee weapon that deals physical damage. It starts at 18.7 force at C rank, which can end all the way to 31.0 force at S rank. Just a quick note, Rei's weapons are exclusive to her, which means you cannot take these and put them on another assault. Rei's shift action, Assault Drive, causes Rei to dash forward in a straight line. Rei's weapons are pretty straightforward. Her gun shoots and her melee is a 3-hit combo. And because of her weapon simplicity, I'm not going to spend too much time explaining how they actually work. I'll be honest, when I first landed Rei, I did not see this coming at all. I was literally just starting the story mode, and all of a sudden she pops up as a reward in my inbox, and she was there to keep for free and able to hit S rank. When I first saw this, I was like, whoa, finally, we get Zero Saber Girl. And I'll be honest also, when Mia came out at the beginning, way back when, I honestly thought it was going to be Zero Saber Girl that came in to basically introduce the Assault class to everybody. But along the way, as I played with Zero Saber, or should I say Rei, I really started to notice how simplistic she was. And this can be good and bad. For those playing Cosmic League, if you decided to actually do the story mode as one of the first things you did upon playing the game and getting her timing couldn't have been any better, because she would have literally been your first assault that you get in game. But for those who might have rolled the Garapon or were playing the game before she came to it, like I did when I was playing Cosmic Break 2, you'll notice that she seems somewhat lacking compared to the others, especially compared to bots like Mia or Cramor or even Nightjar. And to be honest, even Zero Saber himself. Her attacks are pretty good. They don't deal as much damage per se compared to people like Mia in terms of DPS, of course. Her arsenal isn't as full-fledged or diverse like Claremore, nor does she have any real utility or anything like Nightjar or, once again, Mia or Claremore. And I apologize if I'm constantly comparing her to these three bots, but these were bots that when they came out, they had something to bring to the table. And not only did they bring something to the table, but bots that came in other classes as well brought something to the table, like Audrey and her satellite shooter, or Rika and her shoot-away. And even some of the beginner bots somewhat brought things to the table, like, for example, Luna's Excelbound. When I saw this and I noticed that she didn't really have any utility, I kind of had to sit there and say, well, what is she for? Like, what's the point of her then? Like, she's literally extremely bare bones. But then I stopped and I noticed where she was placed, like, with emphasis. She wasn't placed after Claremore and Mia. She was placed before them, if you're thinking in terms of Cosmic League. She covers all the grounds of what makes an assault. She carries all their weaknesses in tow as well. And not only that, but with that, she allows you to learn her at your own pace. All in all, when you put it all together, it's very simple as to what she is. She's basically your first date, your beginner bot, one of the bots that you grow into the game with. I'm not saying that she can't be a bot that you can't do well with or that you can't excel with and become one of your best bots. That's possible, but that all comes down to you and not her. She doesn't really carry any strengths or weaknesses. She's basically a blank sheet. There are a few classes I recommend Rei fighting against, and there are a few that I recommend she highly does not fight against unless you either don't have a choice or you are definitely sure you can take this opponent down. Classes I recommend Rei fighting against would be Fortresses and Jammers. Fortresses don't have a lot of mobility, and they don't usually have any real way of defending themselves in close combat. These two things Rei has by default, so these would be easy kills for her. As for Jammers, Jammers are pretty simple for her, but keep in mind they do have a couple of debuffs and they tend to stick around other people, so this may pose a little bit of a problem, but when you do find them alone and they can't seem to get the debuff on you, these are easy pickings as well. Her rival classes would be Other Assaults and Aerials. It's pretty straightforward with Other Assaults. Whoever has the upper hand has the upper hand. As for aerials, they tend to have a little bit more access to air-based combat or air-based mobility, so this can prove to be quite a bit of a challenge for Rey, but luckily she has some mobility on her side as well. Now this leaves the last two classes, the classes I highly recommend not fighting against unless you either don't have a choice or you are definitely sure you can take these opponents down. These would be Panzers and Busters. That means Lustasias, Fionas, Machantlets, Mighty Binds, Sturbangers, Toy Boxes, and so forth. When it comes down to these two classes, they both do one thing compared to Rey very well every single time. When it comes down to Panzers, they will always outdamage you in close range combat every single time. And when it comes to Busters, they're going to outrange you and outdamage you in range every single time. When you're fighting these two classes, you have to really make sure that you're playing the opposite side of the fence that they're playing, which means if you're fighting a Panzer, you need to play long range. If you're fighting a Buster, you need to play close range. But they tend to have things that help them get past those hurdles as well. So once again, I really recommend not fighting against these guys if you're running Rey. Cards I would recommend using would be Kick Jump of any type, Stun Power, the one where when you take melee damage, you knock them back and you take less melee damage for a time being. Damage up, back damage increased by 10%, and Assault Step of any type. I'm glad they put Rey in the game in general. Whether you are a beginner or somebody who's been playing for a while and just wanted to see a new bot. I mean, she's free, why would you pass her up? But the one thing I have to say at the end of the day is, if you do get another Assault, you most likely will see yourself replacing her unless you are a huge fan of Zero Saber or a huge fan of Zero Saber Girl herself. She deals decent damage and she is pretty simple to use, but that lack of utility, her lackluster moveset, and sometimes her awkward attack styles can really throw you off. I really wish she had a little bit more going for her, either in her shift action or maybe even in her melee combo, or even have the ability like Zero Saber has where he can swap out his gun and swords freely.